Hello, Nicole, and hello, Nia and Norma. We've got three N's in a row. Marianne, lovely to see your face. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Kylie. How are you?
I am great. It's so lovely to see you. What time is it there?
8 o'clock and in the
8 o'clock.
evening.
Well, I feel very special to have you with us
Oh,
today.
well, you are very special.
And you're going to love this one because I know this is right. This resilience one is just something you love. You love that, just that continuous learning. So I'm so glad that to see you as well. And how are you, Nicole?
Yep, I'm good. Doing
You're
well.
good. You're going to be better
Yes.
after today.
Yep. Yep. That I am. No, no, doing well. Got hair. It's always a,
Good. Isn't
you
it
know.
funny, right? Like most people
Oh,
hate looking at themselves in the mirror, okay? And we get to see ourselves every single day for about 8 hours when we're on Zoom and Teams, don't we?
pretty much, pretty much. I'm
Uh,
having to get used to the new me after breast cancer and everything else. So,
oh,
I'm getting used
yes.
to having short, darker hair because I'm
Yes.
and but I'm getting my health back and I did my first park walk post cancer on the weekend, which was good. 5Ks.
Oh, good on you.
So
And I love that you said park walk because actually we call it park run. And I know you do it as
yes,
well. It's park
yep,
run, like they call
yep.
it like that. But lots of people go there and walk too.
It's doing it is what's important.
That's right. It doesn't matter whether you walk, run, or jog.
Oh,
I
that's
keep
it.
telling my children that, right? I'll see you at
Hmm.
the end.
Yep, yep. And for me, it's definitely a park walk. I came last, but I did the whole 5Ks. I didn't have to stop at the 2K mark.
Good.
So
Oh
there
my
you go.
God. I love that. Good on
Yep.
you. And Emmy, lovely to see you.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. God, I love seeing familiar faces. And Chris, how are you?
Good, good. How have
That's
you been?
very, very well. Thank you. Very well. I'm going to get into today because otherwise I'll just keep chatting away and keep talking to everyone. So I know that, so RG, we've got 45 minutes, don't we, today?
Yes, we
Always
do.
have to always have to control myself because I can just get so focused on what I'm talking about because I love this stuff, right? This stuff is so important and it's made me, every time I come and do these Wednesday sessions, and we have people from around the world, okay, come in and join in with us, like Marianne and many of others. It made me realize that how many people have come to these sessions over the last 6 years. We've had over 13,000 people now come to our free workshops that help support leaders and grow leaders, whether it be for themselves or whether it be for their teams, but just that constant learning. And one of the things that I believe I have as a leader and as a business owner is that this constant desire to keep on learning and be a lifelong learner. It's one of my true values is that I want to keep on growing. And, when I think about this topic around resilience, it really is such a critical topic to be talking about right now for many, many reasons. So, welcome everyone. For those that don't know me, I am Kylie Denton from Performance Advisory Group. We work with leaders under pressure, leaders that are leading teams and organisations to help build stronger leaders. And I've also got one of my team here who makes everything run so smoothly. I just get to show up and share what I know works with leaders, but it's RG that makes everything smooth, and you get all the links and all the emails and everything that you need so that I can spend some quality time with you. So thank you everyone for coming today. For those that haven't actually been to any of our workshops, we run regular workshops. Okay, I'm right in the moment of deciding what next month is. Okay, but we do have on-demand workshops that you can watch it, 24/7. Right, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be live here right now. So for those that are wanting to continue to grow, click the QR code, and you'll actually be able to find out a little bit more about some of our other workshops that we've got and our new one that's coming out in June. So what is resilience, right? I work with leaders every day, and resilience is not a course that you take. Many companies will come to me and they'll say, Kylie, can you just make my leaders resilient? right? And resilience isn't something you do through a course. It's the skills and the competencies and the experiences that you have in your life, all of your life, that build resilience. So in the next 30 minutes, what I want to talk about is what are some of the key strategies and thoughts that I want you to be thinking about when it comes to resilience. Not only do I want you to be reflecting on who you are and how you're showing up around resilience and whether or not there's an opportunity to really grow in that space, or how you show up for your team when we're going through some of those challenging times. So, what is resilience? It's many things. It's your ability to work through challenges. It's your ability to adapt to changes. It's getting back up after setback. I remember this amazing football star that turns around and says, failure was just feedback. If anyone knows Lewis Howes, he's an amazing author and podcaster now, but he was a really great, I think it was gridiron sports star, and he's been an Olympian and he just does some really amazing things. And it's about getting back up after setbacks and learning from those failures. And as leaders, that can be really tough for us to do. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit later. It's your ability to inspire their people and to do the same, right? So when we're going through those tough times, when we're leading change, or when we're having, a bulk amount of work, or we've got some really challenging people in our team, it's how are you inspiring your people to be resilient through this time. And I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through this. It's about looking for and adapting, anticipating future challenges. I was working with a leader the other day. He said, but Kylie, I don't know what's going to happen. And I said, I know you don't know what's going to happen. And wouldn't it be lovely if we had this crystal ball? But you do know what you know right now. So, how do we make decisions right now in this challenging time? And I'm going to talk about that because that's one strategy that I often see leaders wobble a little bit in this space. It's about being a visionary. It's about being proactive. We know that nothing stays the same, doesn't it? Just when we think we've got it all under control, something else happens. It's about remaining calm under pressure. It's about learning from mistakes. It's about showing others the future and inspiring them. It's about being optimistic in the face of adversity. And it's about inspiring others. Okay, so there's so many of these amazing leaders that didn't have the easiest of life, right? They had some really challenging and hard times, but they continued to get back up. Serena Williams, 23 Grand Slams to her name, but she had so many obstacles and so many injuries, but she still became one of the best, one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Steve Jobs was fired by the company that he actually founded, right? Only to come back stronger. Helen Keller, an amazing author, political activist, all of those types of things, all of these types of people, have had some really challenging times, but they've actually gotten back up. And that's why resilience isn't something that you can just train in something. It's actually how you show up when it matters, how you show up when everything is not going right. It's easy to show up happy and optimistic and visionary and proactive and, adaptive to changes when everything's going great, right? That's easy for us to do that. But throw in a bit of sickness and a loss of a team member and a change of structure or a new system or, something even bigger than that. And actually, that's the true strength of resilience when it comes to leadership. We actually have a people leadership scorecard that will measure some of this. So if anyone's looking to measure some of those qualities, there's a free leadership scorecard that you can do that will start to look at that in 3 minutes, okay? And give you sort of some feedback around where your opportunities to grow are. What I often find is, most leaders don't have a resilience problem. They have a leadership behavior problem. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Most leaders don't have a resilience problem. They actually have a leadership behavior problem. It's not the issue that is that you actually can't handle pressure. right? It's actually how we behave under pressure that causes that problem for themselves and for their team. So what we know, and all of you would attest to this, pressure isn't going away, is it? Expectations are not reducing. We are getting busier, yet sometimes we've got to stop and go, you know what? We've got to stop pretending things will get easier. Leadership is inherently demanding. It is a tough gig, and if it wasn't, more and more people would want to do it. So struggle for me when it comes to resilience and when it comes to leadership, it's just part of the job, right? It's not a sign that you're failing, right? As leaders, I work with many leaders where I'm saying it's not up to you to have all the answers, okay? It's not up to you to not be vulnerable, right? And it's not up to you to think that everything depends on you, right? When we drive those beliefs within ourselves, what happens when we drive those beliefs within ourselves, what actually happens is we become over controlling. We don't delegate. We have poor communication. We might not hold accountability, or we might actually micromanage. So when we start to have those beliefs inside of us, then it actually increases stress for everyone around us. And I'm a real believer that it's not that leaders should have a thicker skin. I think that if leaders had better habits or learnt how to manage their behaviours under pressure, that's what we would see around building resilience amongst our team, right? What pressure looks like inside teams right now. And I work with so many teams every single year. I work with lots and lots of teams where I'm working with them around how do we build resilience? How do we have better ways of working? How do we not work in silos? And what I know that pressure looks like in teams right now is it's fatigue. Okay. It's about people feeling exhausted. It's about retention risks, so losing people. It's about emotional volatility, so people behaving emotionally. It's about decision paralysis. And when that happens, right, we actually then as a leader start to help determine the behaviors that actually makes it harder for our teams to get through. So as leaders, when things are hard, behavior either stabilizes the team or it makes things worse. So when things are hard right now, as a leader, what do you need to do to stabilize so that we don't make things work? So, for example, I'm presenting to a group of leaders in a couple of weeks' time where an organisation is going through massive change, and the change is not going to get any easier. And in fact, as soon as this change is done, more change will come, just like every organisation. And they've said, Kylie, can you come in and work with the leaders around the mindset that they need to really shift in this change right now? Because we can either keep saying to ourselves we're so tired, or people are leaving, and people are emotional, or I don't know what to do and make decisions. So we can either change that story or we can keep following this story. So when things are tough, do you stabilize or do you make things worse? And I'm going to talk about that as we go through some of the strategies, and toxic or conflict or poor behaviors, right? So let's look at some strategies around how do we actually build. I want you to think about this, as I said, in two parts. How do we build resilience within ourselves, but then how do we actually build resilience within our people as well? What we know is resilience is contagious. Okay. So your team is watching you. They are watching how you respond under pressure. They are watching how you are talking about setbacks and how you are recovering after the hard moments. They are watching everything. For those that have got children or nieces or nephews, they are watching you. It is no different when we are in business as a leader. People are watching. Sometimes what happens is leaders think that resilience lives internally, but actually the team actually see it externally. Okay, so from that perspective, your team is watching you, how you respond under pressure, how you talk about those setbacks, how you actually recover. Do you come back the next day grounded? Do you reset the emotional tone? Do you, make some tough decisions, but make sure they're centered on the team? So my question to you for right now around this one is, when pressure is high, what do you think people are learning from you by watching you? Okay. So what do you think they're learning by watching you? So when you are pressured, do you go real task focused, head down, bum up, and you just get the job done, right? And therefore, do they think that that's the way to do it? Do you spiral or become defensive or short? What do you do? How do you respond when you're under pressure? So what is your team learning about you when you are under pressure? Okay. Load sharing, okay, builds durability. I'm a big one of this, okay. I had an opportunity to write a book a number of years ago around delegation, and I am absolutely strong and critical on this part when it comes to leadership, because I often find that as leaders, we tend to hold on to far too much of the things that we shouldn't do. So teams, I want to tell you something that's really important, especially with all of the teams that I've worked with. Teams are stronger when leaders don't try and carry all the pressure alone. Okay. So the part that I talk about here is isolation creates fragility. So when one person holds all the decision and the stress, things bottleneck and break more easily. Shared pressure builds actually resilient teams. Okay. When leaders share context, when leaders communicate with clarity, when leaders involve others in their thinking. So again, I just got off a meeting with a leader that I'm working with some of their leaders on, and we talked about, who else do you need to involve in this thinking to make that decision? Right. And he rattled off a couple of people that he needed to bring in order to help make that decision. So sometimes as leaders, what we do is we actually try and make all those decisions ourselves. Whereas when we share that, teams cope better and we're able to make stronger decisions as well. When you try as a leader to carry everything, you weaken your team. When you share the load, you build resilience. So my question to you in this space is, what pressure are you carrying that should be shared but isn't? Right? So that could be, so for example, I'll give you another example, right? This is how many people we work with, but we also apply this in our own team. Is in not next week, the week after, we're having a team get together where we talk about our ways of working, because there's some parts in our business that we feel, many in the team feel like there's not enough transparency over. So it's, how do we make sure that we actually look at how we look at this in total and share the load, as opposed to it feeling like it just sits heavily on one person. Okay. So what are you sharing, or what are you carrying that actually should be shared? Because resilience is about developing others so that you don't have to carry all of that load. Now, I talked about this very briefly in the beginning, which this is indecision drains teams faster than mistakes. So stuck decisions drain energy. Uncertainty actually makes people feel worried, second guess, or stalled. Okay. Even imperfect decisions give direction and momentum. And it's so funny. I've been literally, over the last couple of weeks, I have spoken to many leaders about decision models. So what are some decision models that you can use in order to make decisions? Because when you stay in the space of not making decisions, you actually create more uncertainty, and that impacts the team. So what I am saying, right, about this, it's not about making fast decisions or rush decisions or impulsive decisions. What we know with decision making is it has to be informed, but gather the evidence. This is and I didn't have this printed for today, but it's so perfect because I've been showing so many leaders of it. But it's a decision model, right? And so often we're waiting for perfect information, or we're not making decisions because I need to know that or I need to do that. But what we know is how we build resilience as teams is to know that we're making decisions and moving forward. And making them within a reasonable time frame, giving direction when things are unclear, or moving forward and then adjusting if needed, right? Just like I said to that leader, is what do you need to know right now? Let's not think about the future, but what gives you the information that you need to know now? Because what I often find is teams don't burn out from hard work, they burn out from uncertainty. So, where is, and the question for you right now in this space, okay, is where is indecision quietly exhausting you or the team right now? So, what decisions are you not making that actually could be exhausting the team? Okay. And that could be a role decision, it could be a process decision, it could be a structure decision, whatever it is. What decision have you not made yet? Because that actually is impacting the team. 4, and this is something that I think leaders can get better at, and we can also be showing up for our people. Lack of focus, not workload, is what burns out teams really fast. So when everything feels urgent, people can't prioritize or switch off. And when everything is urgent, resilience erodes. I can no longer be strong every day when all I've got to do is so much work. Okay, clear focus protects energy. So when we actually give and we know what matters, what is our priorities, that reduces overwhelm and it makes pressure more manageable. When people feel like they know what they got to do, even if they've got a lot to do, I feel like I know where I'm going forward. So this is not about working harder. This is not about ignoring issues or not even around time management tricks, although there are some in there. Okay, it's about making priorities clear. It's about reducing competing demands. So again, I had a meeting with one of my team this morning and I said, right, I want to know, let's get real transparent around what are the current demands on your role, but then what are the focus demands over the next month? Let's get rid of all the noise that sits around it and help the team focus on what matters now. Okay. So when everything is urgent, people are burnt out. Okay. Clear priorities protect energy. So the question that I want to ask you is, what are your team's top priorities now? And do they know it? Or what needs to come off that list? Okay. Because that list, even as I said to Vic this morning, I said, I'd like us to know what's our wish list under those pillars. But actually, now I want to know reality. What do we need to focus on in the next month? Okay. Because if I've got all of these shiny objects that are on my wish list that are all competing, then we're not going to be focused on the right things. So what's your team's top priorities now, and do they know it? And what needs to come off the list so that they actually have clarity around what they've got to do and not so many competing demands. And then finally, teams don't fear failure, okay? They fear what happens next. And what I mean by that is, and this is this one that Lewis Howes talks about from a failure is feedback, is, after a mistake or a failure, teams are not necessarily afraid of the failure. They're afraid of the response to that failure. Okay. So, what happens next is like, will there be blame? Will there be consequences? Will there be trust or credibility damaged? Right. Will it be actually safe to speak up again? Right. So people don't shut off when things go wrong. They shut off because of how you react after as a leader. Failure is inevitable in leadership, right? We can't get rid of that, okay? Especially in complex environments. We're going to have the wrong conversation. We're going to make the wrong decision. We're going to, do something wrong, okay? It's how are you responding when things are wrong? Okay. Are you learning and recovering? How are you responding as in not just your words, but within your behavior as well? Failure doesn't break the teams, poor recovery does. So, my question to you for this one is, what do people experience from you when things go wrong? Okay. We have in our organization, forget the mistake, remember the lesson. Okay. And that is, there's going to be mistakes, but what's the lesson? Even we're changing some of our ways of working within our team, and I'm trying to get out of some of the work that I feel like my team are very capable of doing themselves without involving me, so that they can step up and do some of that. And RG said to me, you do realize that there will be some failures on the way and mistakes on the way. And I said, that's okay, I expect that. But what we can then do is we can help have some guardrails put around that. Okay, so we've got to expect that there will be some mistakes, but what guardrails need to go around that for next time. Okay, so what do people experience from you? Okay, when things are really tough, like not on the good days, but when it's really, really tough. You know, everything we've spoken about today is resilience and focus and decisiveness and load sharing. They're not one-off skills. Okay. They're leadership behaviors that need space, right? That time to think, practice. How am I going to show up in this moment? And accountability, not for you, just for yourself, but also for your team, right? Resilient leaders invest time in their own well-being so that they can be resilient for others around them. And again, I'm a big believer in this. I've run a company now for the last 13 years. We are constantly busy. I feel like I'm constantly working long hours. I love what I do. I'm happy to work the long hours. But on the flip side of that, I need to make sure I exercise. I need to make sure I have a good diet. I need to make sure I get good sleep. I need to make sure I'm mindful. I need to make sure that if I'm willing to do that, then I need to make sure that I'm resilient enough to be able to bounce back at those times. So I need to make sure that I'm looking after my own well-being in order to be able to lead others. Because you know what, when you get sick or when things are under pressure, we can become a little shorter. We can become a little snappier. We can become a little bit. Actually, open up your chat bar. When things are tough, what do you do? Do you become a bit snappier? Do you become a bit more task focused? Do you become a bit quiet? What do you do when things are really tough? What behavior shows up for you as a leader? Pop it into the chat bar, because I think this is important for you to sort of start to now think about, how am I showing up? I know that if I'm sick or I've had sick children and I'm working super long hours and then the children get sick and I've got long days and lots of things, I can become a little snappier because I'm tireder, I'm more frustrated, I'm more easily annoyed. Okay. So it's really important that I look after my own well-being in order to be able to show up in a way that I want for my people. I become task focused, head down, right? So again, Jody, thanks for that honesty. And it's good to be aware of that. But how do our team need us to be? And this is the beautiful thing about resilience. And I'm going to talk about our group coaching program in a minute or two, because I think this is where leaders learn more, right? So when I become task focused, head down, does that mean that people, and I'm just making this up, Jody, in no way am I saying this is what you do, but, you know, does that mean that people feel like they can't come to me? Does that mean that people feel like, oh my God, we're super busy, I've got to work now 10 times as hard? Or does that mean that, oh my God, don't interrupt her because she could be cranky? Okay. What does that show up like? And then I want you to think about, what would I want to show up like? And that might be, I want to show up like clear with what our priorities are. I'm inspirational and focused, and here's what we've got to do. And now what you're going to see me do is close off my time for the next 3 hours because I want to get some key pieces of work done. But after that, I'm here if anyone needs me, you know, thinking about it from that. become quiet and focused on the task, right? So again, Chris, this is great. Should I be quiet, or what do my team need of me? What should I be? Should I be actually communicating more at those times because my team need me to communicate more? They need me to be transparent and motivational, or focused or clear with where we're going. Get snappy. Good. Someone's with me, Emmy. That's me. Shorter Amanda. Good. Okay. Quiet and think. Florid eyebrows. Yeah. See, that's right. And Sharif, that's a great one, right? I love that one because we spend less time coaching and more time doing and deciding. We become, I won't use the word over controlling, but we become more trying to control things because that's where we feel safe. Whereas that's when we should actually sometimes step back and go, right, how should I be? What do my team need me to become? Very school teacher. I love it. I can get blunt and sometimes rude. Beautiful, Ben. Go quiet. Good. Personally, go quiet. So resilience, right, is about knowing how you show up when things are tough. And it's not about getting it right all the time. Trust me, you won't, right? We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. But it's about going in these moments of stress, of pressure, of whatever is going on in my world, because don't forget what happens at work happens at home, and happens at home happens at work. How do I show up as the leader that my team need me to be in order to help them show up as how they need to be, and building resilience with them? And, I can't emphasize the importance of resilience when it comes to leadership, especially. As leaders, we've got to be able to build and develop resilience in better able to navigate complexity, to better able to navigate challenges and accept failure as that feedback, and then come out stronger on the other side and more adaptable to change, and to be able to make better decisions and to focus on where we're going, the goals, and that light on the hill, and to become more stronger and more resilient for those around you. So that when I say to leaders or to teams, how does Emmy show up under pressure? They might say, look, she becomes really clear, she becomes calm, she becomes focused on what's important, she checks in more, whatever it might be. I'm often saying to leaders, when times are tough, what are the words that you want people to be saying about you when you're not in the room, right? And when it comes to resilience, it's how we show up. So what is it that true leaders really want, right? I think they want to show up as the best version of themselves as a leader. But if you haven't given yourself time to think about what that best version looks like, then it becomes really hard to show up in that way. So talking today around resilience gives you that opportunity to really think about, how am I showing up in the tough times? Okay. How am I showing up in the tough times? And I'll share with you a little bit about our group coaching program, because what I often find, and we've been running these free workshops for a long time, but we also have the opportunity to know, when I'm talking about workshops like this, it's not just fluff. I want to give you strategies, I want to give you tools, I want to give you frameworks so that you can go away and do something with it. For me, our free workshops are really about helping to give you genuine insight in who you are as a leader, and to build your confidence. So often, so many leaders that I work with, and it doesn't matter whether I'm working at a senior level, at a C-suite level, to whether or not I'm a team leader level. Okay, so many leaders struggle with confidence. They're constantly questioning whether or not they're good enough, whether or not they can do this. Imposter syndrome is real. It really is. And, what we do with our group leadership program is we actually have a space once a month where leaders can come together and actually ask questions and get help and get advice and talk about challenges and navigate the complexities of what leadership is all about. And I often find that so many leaders do it themselves. They're trying to lead themselves. They're trying to actually answer the questions. And the one thing that I love about our group leadership program is you've got an opportunity to sit in the space and actually have, leaders telling you or giving you some advice on how they might deal with certain challenges and deal with certain advice, and get that advice just like I've given you today as well. So, this isn't our group leadership program. The great thing about it is it's not about adding more to your plate. Okay. Let me tell you what you actually get inside the group leadership program. Okay. The very first part is around coaching. So it's about live monthly coaching once a month for 90 minutes a month. On a Wednesday at 12 p.m. RG, I think you'll pop it into the chat bar if I've got it wrong. At 12 p.m. once a month, on a Wednesday, we have a group of leaders that come together and we talk about leadership concepts like this, but then we actually have an opportunity to share challenges, to ask questions, and to learn more from each other. Leadership is not a lone sport. It's something that should actually be done together. You have access to all of our recordings and workshops and videos. You have a library of masterclasses. You get workshop recordings. You get tools, templates, and models. And that's probably one of the biggest benefits of our group leadership program is you actually get models just like this one. I was showing this one before. How do I make decisions? 4 times in the last couple of days. I even gave it to my sister the other night when she was having to make a decision. She said, I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. And I said, let me show you a model, right? So it's these practical models that actually help people. And then support and community. Support and community is being surrounded by a group of leaders. And this is once a month. We have a number of different tiers, which we'll send you some information on. But all of that is now $97 a month. Okay. We only allow an additional 5 people into the program each month. I like to keep them small. I like them to have an opportunity for people to ask questions, answer questions. And when they get too big, people don't get their questions answered. So for those that are interested in finding more about our group leadership program, you've got some information there. That is the QR code, and I know RG will send you some information as well. But we actually have 3 packages. You can have $97 a month if you just want the basic live coaching with us once a month. You can have an accelerator where you get more. You get our leadership excellence program, or you could have the mastery, which I actually do individual coaching with our clients as well. So most people start here, right? Most people go, Kylie, I just want the support around leadership. I want to feel like I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly growing, I'm constantly developing myself, but I have this beautiful mastermind of people that sits around it. Okay. So if you're interested in more of that, then please click the QR code. Okay. And really the leadership program or the group coaching program is taking leaders from overwhelm and chaos to clarity and confidence, to calm, and to sustainable leadership, right? Because leadership is not going to get easier, okay? And I'm really big believer that leadership was never meant to be done alone. Leadership is complex, okay? And when you're making decisions on your own, I can guarantee you're probably losing sleep over it, okay? So if you're interested in our group leadership program, then please let us know and we'll have a chat to see whether or not you're a right fit for the program. Otherwise, I'm going to get you to do 2 things. If you haven't connected with me, please connect with me so that we continue to remain in touch. But I want you to open up your chat bar. What's the one insight or the one thing that you can take away from today that you've learnt about yourself, either as a leader around resilience? What's the one thing that you've learnt that you can take away? And look at that, I'm right on time. Emmy, take yourself off mute. Let's hear from you, and then Nicole, and then I'd love to hear from you, Marianne.
Thanks, Carly. I thought one thing is I always thought I want to show up well when I'm under the pressure, but you had a very good point that if I actually don't know how I want to appear, and actually didn't realize I actually didn't really have how I want you to look like. So how can I do it? So that's something I'm going to work on.
Yeah, think about that. Think about that in a bit more detail and go, right, how is that?
Yeah.
I love it, Emmy.
Thanks.
Nicole. And keep popping it into the chat bar too.
Got it. I think for me, it's the fact that when everything, the concept that when everything is urgent, that resilience and energy erodes.
Yes.
So when we get super busy, which we are at the moment, we are amazingly busy, and it's
Yeah.
incredible to be this busy. But I think it's the erosion of the energy and the resilience, and that and the fact that everything feels like it's not quite under control.
Yeah.
It's busyness, but in a mild panic.
Yes. Yes, right.
So,
And that's only what you can see on the outside.
mm,
Imagine what's happening on the inside of them physiologically, right?
mm,
Their heart's probably racing. They probably their mind is very busy. Their
mm,
body is responding.
mm,
Okay, so all of these things, but if we can just give people that clarity of what we need to focus on,
mm,
it'll allow them to go, right, this is where I need to focus on. And it will allow them to keep reprioritizing themselves. And not only that, to make better decisions when someone comes up and says, can you do this, Nicole?
mm.
I can, but not before this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yep. I can add it to the list, but it cannot be done right now because
Yeah.
there are. So yeah,
Yeah.
clarity. And I think that is, if I can get that clarity inside our management team, the flow on effect then. And
Yeah.
that clarity has to start with me
It
because,
does have to start with you, right? It does.
yep,
And
because I
and
set the tone.
you totally. I love that learning. Wonderful.
Mm,
Marianne. And just before Marianne, Jody, I absolutely love that, right? Because that was deep for you. I really like how you've taken that. I never really thought about how they think or what they see as a result of my actions. I'm always there for them, but do they see that through my actions? Love that, right? Because now we get to go, mentally, I know I'm there for them, but is my body, right? And remember that 55% of our communication is done through our body language. How's my body showing up? Even though my mind might be, how's my body showing up? It's a beautiful, Jody. Marianne.
hmm I think for me, the when decisions have to be made quickly or urgent decisions have to be made, I tend to do those myself and not share them with my colleagues.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking tonight now, there are times when I could share those, and then
yeah,
they can see how I behave in those urgent, stressful times.
yeah. You know what? But you know that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved, right?
Right.
And I'm a really big believer in teams are stronger together. Okay, we are
Mm-hmm.
stronger. We have this beautiful collective intelligence that we can bring in. So your idea might be good, but what if Nicole added to that and you're like, I could do a bit of that and a bit of that, and together we have this amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, good,
Thank you.
Marianne. Let's do one more, Chris, and I want to touch on just some of those comments in the chat bar to round it off.
Yeah, this has been really good. So I agree with the when everything is urgent, resilience erodes really sort of struck
Yeah.
me. I mean, this morning I had phone calls, text messages, emails, and Teams chat messages. And email is the standard, and everything else is people's urgent channel. But there's three different urgent channels, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god, this is nuts."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, when my team see me under pressure and I go quiet, they actually often come and ask, "Are you okay?" So they know something is going on. They don't know what.
Yes.
And so they, I sort of realized in listening today, rather, the sort of the team check in with me as a way to seek information. I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, this
Yeah.
has been really good.
I love it. I love it. I tend to take on the work myself when it's new or challenging and often go, don't give the, yeah. And what we do know, Ben, and this is not a change workshop, but what we do know is people don't mind change. They just don't like change done to them. They want change done with them, right? And we know that in order for people to change, they have to have this internal desire, right? Change is hard in organizations because we're changing one person at a time. But Ben, when we bring others into the party, into the conversation, to the table, they're actually, one, have got some feel great and trust, but also we've got this opportunity to feel that they're part of that decision, and they're more likely to do that decision. Okay. And Sharif, I'm so glad you took that, and hopefully others that are listening too, is when times are tough, what words do I want my people to use to describe me? Okay. Because that then will go, if that's what the word is, calm or confident, then what behaviors would I do that would actually show up as that? Okay. So if I'm calm, okay, you might see me more considered, my breathing, I might not be walking as fast, I might be slowing my tone down, I might be having more conversations to check in on my team. When I'm confident, then how am I showing up? Okay, so think about those behaviors from that perspective. Resilience is developed through the hard times. Okay, so those hard times can also be a gift, okay, to us, because they're teaching us about ourselves. They're helping us to learn how we respond and how we want to respond. So I always remember, and I remember going through a divorce many years ago when someone said to me, "What is great about this?" And I was like, "What? What is great about that? I'm not quite sure I really feel great at the moment." But there was this opportunity to reflect on who I was going to become because of that. Okay, so there was actually greatness that came out of that. So I want you to remember that the challenging times will bring out who you really can be. Okay, if you take that opportunity to reflect and grow in them, as opposed to thinking that this is horrible, I don't want to be here. There's a moment, there's a lesson in that for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. It's been so wonderful to speak to you. We're going to share a copy of this recording, so you're going to get it for a month, okay, to look at. If you want to share it with others in your network, share it with others in your network, and pay it forward and give them the love and the support that they might need to continue to build their resilience in life or in leadership. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Thanks, Arjie.
Thank you, Kylie.